The Republican representatives' inquiry centers on China's growing military assertiveness toward Taiwan. Taiwan's status has been a point of geopolitical friction for decades, and the question likely underscores broader Republican concerns about China's rising influence and the U.S.'s role in defending its allies. The representative might be framing the issue as one of urgency, stressing the need for a robust, firm stance to counteract Chinese aggression.
Director Haynes, General, is it your sense that Beijing thinks that it has a window of opportunity to invade Taiwan before Taiwan and the United States modernize and get into better position to deter any such invasion? Let's start with you, Director.
So, thank you, Senator. It's our view that they are working hard to effectively put themselves into a position in which their military is capable of taking Taiwan over our intervention, right? We can talk in closed sessions about timelines and so on for how quickly they think they may be able to achieve that, but I think that is something that they are trying to achieve, even as what General Barrier stated earlier is true, which is to say that they would prefer not to have to use military force to take Taiwan. They'd prefer to use other means.
General, do you want to comment on this?
Well, I know there are a lot of dates out there, Senator, 2027, 2030, 2049. Certainly, it's on their mind. We're not really sure what lessons Xi Jinping is taking away from this conflict right now. We would hope that they would be the right ones, but I think it's going to take some time to sort out whether or not he believes this is a window or that his timeline would extend.
Let me ask you about something that Admiral Davidson said when he was commander of PACOM. He told the committee last March that he worried about a Chinese invasion of Taiwan in the next 6 years. That's his testimony. His successor, Admiral Aquilino, has similarly said that he views the timeline to be shrinking. Based on the indicators, Director, let me start with you on this. Based on the indicators available to the intelligence community, do you agree that the threat to Taiwan is acute between now and 2030?
Yes, I think it's fair to say that it's critical or acute between now and 2030. I think that's absolutely fair. What is hard to tell is how, for example, whatever lessons China learns coming out of the Russia-Ukraine crisis might affect that timeline, as well as you indicated, whether or not our capabilities, Taiwan's capabilities, other decisions that will have to be made between now and then that will affect the timeline.
General, what are you said just a second ago that you hope China would learn some lessons from the Ukraine conflict. What is it you're hoping that they take away?
Just how difficult like a cross-strait invasion might be and how dangerous and high risk that might be. We saw.
Well, don't you think that the Chinese military is significantly more capable than the rest? As it turns out, just to pick up what Senator King was pressing you on, we pretty dramatically overestimated the strength of the Russian military. I'd be surprised, for one, if China...
The intersection of these viewpoints, Republican, Democratic, and the veterans' more personal experience, highlights the deep divide in U.S. political discourse about how to approach China and Taiwan. The Republican emphasis on strength and deterrence contrasts with the Democratic preference for diplomacy and multilateral.
As military strength proves to be so attenuated. So, I mean, don't you think that we're dealing with a significantly more formidable adversary in China?
I think China is a formidable adversary.
So, I mean, back to lessons learned. I would, unfortunately, I think one lesson they can draw from the Ukraine conflict is that deterrence didn't work in Ukraine. I mean, Russia invaded Ukraine. I, for one, don't want to be having this conversation about Taiwan in any period of years, not next year, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. So my sense of urgency on this is we better figure out how deterrence is going to work in Taiwan, because if China is successful in a fait accompli, that's going to look a lot different than a Russian scenario in Ukraine. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I do agree with that.
So just to that end, Director, let me come back to you. One of the things that the IC was able to give us lead time on was a potential Russian invasion of Ukraine. I mean, we're very clear on that there was a strong likelihood of that, and you had that months in advance, actually. I'm curious if you think that we would get similar strategic warning about a potential Chinese invasion of Taiwan.
I mean, it's too early to tell, honestly, whether or not that would be the case. And obviously, in a kind of classic intelligence way, we would sure as hell not, promise anything at this stage. So,
General, let me ask you about something that has long been a concern of mine, and even more so now, and that's what I think of as the simultaneity problem, simultaneous conflicts in Western Europe with Russia and with China. So do you worry that Beijing might see an opportunity to invade Taiwan in the very near future should the United States get drawn into an actual conflict, a kinetic conflict with Russia?
I think that's a remote possibility, but I don't.
Which part's remote?
The part that China would see that as a window to open to take advantage of that, based on the fact that they probably aren't ready to do that right now.
So you don't think they have the capacity right now to invade Taiwan?
I didn't say that. I think.
Well, I'm trying to drill down on what you mean when you say that they wouldn't do it.
I think they probably have. Actually, could we take this into a closed session?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And my time's expired, so I'll take it up with you then. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Senator Manchin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, just real quickly back on Taiwan again. Do you believe Taiwan is prepared to defend itself? Now, your evaluation of what Taiwan's been doing, the only thing I keep seeing, they want more F-16s, and we think they're going to be able to go to air war with China and defend Taiwan. I don't think so.
I think Taiwan could do more, sir.
Are you all strategically giving them different things that they can use, whether it be in the sea or on land, to protect their island?
I think they're in close consultation with our partners in Indo-PACOM and within the Department of Defense.
How about Ukraine? Can Ukraine win now that we've, as Senator King so rightfully pointed out and Senator Hawley followed up on, we misread that one. Are we reading it now? They have the ability to win if we continue to support without us being pulled into a land war with them on their own. Can they win?
I think that is a difficult prediction to make. Right now, I think where the agency is at is a prolonged stalemate should no factor change on either side. In other words, the Russians continue to do what they're doing, and we continue to do what we're doing for the Ukrainians. I see that as a stalemate, not necessarily.
Dr. Haynes, how do you evaluate this? I'm sure you've been kept up to speed on this and evaluating them. My other concerns you might want to answer is our ability to maintain and manufacture the weapons that are needed to not only help Ukraine, not only to backfill our allies, but also keep our own supply chains up. Are we running critically low? Could it be that we could put ourselves in a dangerous situation?
Thank you, Senator. So I think a few things. One is just taking your last question first. Something we can do maybe a little bit in closed session is talk about not just our military assistance to Ukraine, but also a number of other countries that have provided military assistance to Ukraine.
And ask the questions: are you concerned about the ability to have the supplies that are needed for us, for our allies, and what Ukraine is going to need to sustain and hopefully win this war?
So that's why I was talking about the allies piece. No, I'm not concerned, because I think, frankly, between all of us, there is the capacity to provide the kind of assistance that they're asking for.
Okay, and as you identify, can you identify other hotspots we're very much concerned about? And I'll give you, other than China, because we know China's challenges we have. Other hotspots that we're worried about could stem up or rise up during this very difficult time and the geopolitical unrest that we have in the world. What would you, I mean, in Iran, North Korea, some of the ones you're more watching and concerned about?
The agency's worried about North Korea for sure, and their ballistic missile development timeline, and as well as potential nuclear testing. We're always thinking about Iran and the actions that they have to pull malign influence within the region against our neighbors, and certainly U.S. forces there. Always thinking through how to sustain partnerships to be able to keep a beat on these threats.
Director Haynes, are you concerned about basically the tensions that we have with UAE and with Saudis, and also their more visual movements, intentional movements towards China for support, or basically the yuan being used now as the currency that they're accepting for payment of energy? Things of this sort that could also put us in a more precarious situation with UAE and Saudis.
Thank you, Senator. I mean, I think, obviously, as you indicate, we are always looking at efforts that both China and Russia make to try to make inroads with partners of ours across the world, and UAE and Saudi Arabia are examples of that in both respects.
Cybersecurity is my final one for you all. Cyber, right now, seems like it'd be just a convoluted area where people would report whether it's private companies in America that are getting hacked and what's going on, but also who is in charge, where do they go, what is the chain right now within the federal government and military especially on cyber that you would consider the premier spot that we should be working with, or are we putting things together, or are we still so fragmented throughout our agencies?
I mean, in my experience, it's gotten better over the years. I mean, I would never say it's perfect. It is one of those things that continues to be worked through, but there's a very clear chain of command with respect to taking action.
Who's taking the lead? Who takes the lead?
So when it comes to offensive cyber operations to defend the country, obviously the Department of Defense does so. When it comes to defending helping to defend infrastructure and critical, exactly, resilience, it's Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, and it's and everybody has a role to play, and we obviously support in the intelligence community all of them in the work that they're doing.
How about the national cybersecurity? How about